A mage lady is stunned speechless to see a big armored monster rip apart goblins like Goblin Slayer. So the story of humanity goes like this, resisting unreasonably big threats and getting help from this uncounted monster who awakens from his deep, long slumber. A few days ago, a monster opened his eyes, overflowing with power, roaring with life, but soon turned gloomy after recalling it had no name. This nameless monster, who was called Unos, was an ordinary human until recently. Now he has turned into an abomination and can't even speak normal human language. Doesn't he remind you of Kafka from Keiju number 8? The lad got signed in just for having a nice body. However, that's not the case anymore. The experiment went totally downhill when Unos woke up after 200 years. Eventuality, MC breaks out of a freezing chamber looking like that yellow alien from Ben 10. Well, that's definitely what he is going to get on his first come, first served deal with that shady doctor. Even so, his intuition rang the red alarms that something smelled funny about this thing. With his country at war against neighbors, that doesn't give those scumbags the right to poke around with no consent. Turns out that he straight up woke up in 1872 when he joined as an 18-year-old in 1648, rambling with a million thoughts about his family, homeland, and Furlados Empire. On top of all that, he wonders if those scientists left him to rot just like that. Then he gives it a rest, not going to jump into stuff with no clue whatsoever. Giving one side glance to his subject matey sleeping as a dead corpse, he swoops out of this room to hunt for answers. However, the bloodbath doesn't end right here. He ends up running into a chain of corpses lying on the floor like rose petals, but only highly disgusting. There he stumbles upon a usable matchstick and a locked gate. He assumes that this is an electricity-dead building with enough backup power for the freezing chambers, perhaps. Judging by his new macho muscular body, he achieves the light bulb moment to test out his strength. Then he throws a rock-solid punch to the locked gates and leaves out a blood-curdling cry in agony. After rolling like a 3-year-old weeping for candy, he scratches his head for ways to get through this only route out of this underground facility. Not planning to die as a monster, he figures that the mad scientist surely built this facility monster-proof. However, his pea-sized brain cooks up a new idea of taking his genetically enhanced powers for a test drive on the wall. Turns out that the crazy experiment was a great success, with his new ability to break through solid rocks with a hardcore punch. In search of the higher ground, he ends up learning more about his new physical boost, including zooming eyes like telescopes. Far away, something catches his attention, but he is more worried about a huge forest popping out of nowhere. Other than that, the MC learns that he can kick out his emotions too now, just like a nasty mutilated war machine. Looks like those creepy scientists have finally managed to brew a living weapon. Later on, he finds that faraway object to be the North Kingdom of Cannon's airship. With the help of the aviation logbook, this creature figures out that this crash happened 200 years ago due to a monster attack. Details down here give him a pretty nice view of his whereabouts. Heading to the east, the freaks venture to find more intel on what has gone down in the past 200 years. Just then, the shivers run down his spine when he imagines people freaking the crap out on seeing a monster like him. However, he decided to revisit this issue later. At first, this freak show just cannot help but wonder where this nasty stench is coming from. Sneaking through the bushes, he watches a swarm of goblins going bonkers like it was a rave night in a trash can. Aside from that, he notices some elven beauties trapped between the goblins. He recalls this scene as being a big part of his life in erotic videos and manga. He is a man, monster of culture. Though the dude had no clue, they smelt like this. No wonder this is damn hard for the elves running into nasty trouble like these. With this mutated macho body, he jumps down to squash some goblins out of the way, and just by that, he rages on solo with his smashing hardcore punches that send a group of goblins in the air. This abomination has let loose hells over this swarm, like a true bloodbath. After that, he just feels pity for the little ones while he feels like a full-fledged warrior in game. Somewhere else, Dela mocks poor Rizzle for drawing the short straw. However, this woman is only looking to rank higher in the reputation game to land better jobs. But hey, this hot beauty discovers this place to be a total dud. Rizzle looks to be rather busy having a nice view at Dilla's plump goodies. However, she plans to put these on the table for him, only if he can be a little better man. Just then, Lena and Gista rush down to meet Dilla and Rizzle. Upon asking about her next job offer to explore the great forest of Floritos, Dilla spills the beans that it is her brother's idea after all. Moving on, the goblins are going at it on those elven hot beauties. Ripping their tops into shreds, the pack of goblins is eating them alive. Does this remind you of a dude wearing a medieval armor with goblin massacre on his mind? This woman watches this horrific view from the side corner. She wonders what has gone wrong to make things like this. Thus, this hot beauty mumbles about such an unthinkable short straw. She takes a look at her fellow elf girls screaming like hyenas. Somewhere else, the MC then decides to land into this freak show as the freak lord himself to put an end to this. There he smashes a solid hit to a crocodile-faced beast. A splash of blood flies onto his face. After a fierce showdown between the Croco Beastie, he finishes the raging battle with some bloody hits. A jaw-dropping move leaves blood spraying like a fountain from his mouth. With a proud sigh, the lad takes a moment to glorify his victory over such a huge beast, puffing smoke out of his mouth. It's been, 200 years for this dude? Looks like this creeper deserves at least a delicious meal for starters. Even after 200 years, formerly human, Yunus still remembers the ways to cook to survive in such harsh times. Roasting up Croco's meat is no easy task. He thanks for the food before digging in. Oh well, one bite is enough to remind him what hell tastes like. After his strong front, the man breaks and vomits the disgusting trash out while he still can. Coming with a quick apology, this creep blames him for coming right at him. Not gonna lie, but the beasts around here must know the rules. Like one must die, and the other must eat to survive. So he throws the rest back into the river. Afterward, he gulps down the boiled water from the river to wash away that horrible taste. Besides that, this creature believes that he should have sucked out his blood first or something. It looks like this freak still has enough human senses smushed on his tongue. Still the same as when he was human. Although this dude wonders if he ever had a sneak peek into the future, he would not mind being more like the monsters. Sitting up in front of the fire, the lad looks to be exhausted from having had a rough enough day. There he tries to recall today's events, which are freshly engraved in his mind like his first monstrous nightmare. Diving down memory lane, he remembers waking up from a deep, long slumber as a nasty-looking monster. To top it all off, this super soldier beast happens to have no human language feature update. That came as a shock to the poor soul. However, even though it has come to this, our freaky soldier is grown enough to like his new body and muscle. Filling up his massive belly with canned bread yet again, he continues to load his stomach with crap from the airship, though the lad is damn sure of not feeling his hunger pangs. Other than that, this dude still wishes to live his carefree life, even after being a hideous monster. If things go his way, he might run into a solution that switches him back to humans. This way, the dude has a chance of meeting his family descendants, or his older or younger sister's descendants, due to a strong female line. Aside from that, this freak just loves himself and his perfect power boost now, as he loved the horror games before. He still likes his monstrous way of living the beauty of life, but also wishes to be human again. His language barrier is proving to be a tough nut to crack. However, he wonders what's the best country he can search for after the Empire's fall. His eyes notice the Furlatus Empire, which happens to be the largest country with the most advanced science and technology. Their scientific prowess put them a step ahead of the enemy's plans. By the looks of it, this guy also wants to check out the Cannon Kingdom, which by far is rich with magic and science. His third choice strikes to be the Republic of Einhell in the west, which is home to nature-loving elves. With their monster-loving attitude, he is damn sure to land some welcoming space among them as a monster. However, their magical prowess worries him more before he knows this body is resistant to magic. He wonders if the race of elves even has males because his imagination is full of girls. While the South Way is the Hell's Way, totally out of the question after what happened. This creature does not want to step foot near the kingdom of Caesilia in the east, which too is all about magic and monsters. Not to mention they got the House of Exterminators, the line of monster hunters overruling that area, which makes a massive target himself. Thus he decides to head to Cannon after he figures out where he is exactly. Somewhere else in the forest, Dila whines that they are the exterminators who are hunting down monsters. And this exploration in this forest totally negates that point. Rizzle says that this chick needs to chill out and not be a spoilsport. Lena demands to know what they are searching for really, while Gista answers that it can be literally anything on the outskirts, so she decides to throw a controversial topic in between a nice bonfire. She mutters that 5 years ago, a bunch of elves made a selfish claim to own the former Empire's territory, which flips her lid. That pisses off the whole circle. While Rizzle's little head can only think of one reason, which is a whole lot of hidden treasure. But Diela adds that the Empire's treasures are nothing but scientific gold, which is totally useless to the kingdom of Caesilia, which loathes science. Other than that, Lena just likes having a little picnic like this with her friends. Her brother, Rizzle, spills his guts, trying to make this dweeb understand that they are on a dangerous quest. Just then, Diela pulls Lena over suddenly, asking if she is just looking for a nice time with them. Hugging close to her embrace, she apologizes for making her feel awkward. This lifts Lena's spirits, wanting to make this gorgeous beauty her real big sister. Diela once thought it would go on forever, asking why it had to end this way. On the battlefield, Rizzle gets hit down by a ball of fire right to his guts, turning his face as white as a ghost. Watching him like this, the other exterminators have their hearts skipping a beat with their eyes popping out. The swarm of hungry goblins has cornered these four all around, sending panic into each of them. Not to mention, they are totally outnumbered by these little creepers. Not only that, they are quietly latching themselves onto their bodies like a dead, bothersome weight. Jista, who is already in between a mess with two goblins, gets a surprising visitor about to squash her body. A full-blown squash by a giant, greasy blob turns Jista into nothing but a pile of blood, making Diela scream her name. Lena spots Rizzle sleeping out cold after that fireball attack. This chick is doing her best to shake her brother back to reality, yanking him out of it. Diela decodes this hellish nightmare before her with eyes like daggers. She swears of not being careless, as she has played this one before. Who would have thought a goblin army could be led by a huge ogre? However, she bets that the ruins of the Empire messed it all up, with a huge number of blind spots. Thanks to that idiot, she spots the anti-magic field off the surface by that big lump over there. Mapping out the field, this girl is damn sure they are good as dead if her magic does not work at all. Just then, she hears a piercing scream only to find Lena in the grabs of a bunch of goblins. Suddenly, Diela meets the same end, with her heartbreaking cry as goblins hop at her to chain her down. Ripping apart Lena and Diela's clothes to humiliate the heck out of exterminators. Diela, with a quick apology, wishes she could have done something for Lena rather than being a goblin's plaything. Scared to death and about to pass out, her words get interrupted by the dramatic entrance of another monster joining the goblin rave. It comes as a shock to see such a huge, inexplicable monster in the midst. Flipping their lids, the goblins are super pissed out to have a monster raiding on another monster's bachelor pad. However, he had no darn idea of humans in this place, as he just dropped here because this place reeks of goblins. Scanning the area, he discovers Rizzle, the goblin's lollipop, to be alive and well but just sleeping out cold. Noticing the beauties in the grip of these ugly creepers, this freak yanks the goblins out of the way, helping the big melon's lady. Diela is taken aback to see a monster helping her out of this misery, thinking if they're kind or enemies to goblins. Just then, a goblin shaman, who, by the way, wields magical prowess, hits the MC with the fireball attack. Dashing like a speedster to grab that sneaky shaman, he declares it to be his final breath before he rips him apart. Knowing that the shaman's tricks murdered Liesel in one shot, but that huge monster has 0 to no scratch. She holds Lena in her embrace, watching this moron face off with the giant ogre. While formerly Unos, a fellow melon lover, only has eyes for the boo but notices this blob as being the leader. Although this ugly monster is glad to put his powers on a test drive on such a fitting opponent. Thus, he is ready to use this golden ticket to try a few things. But oh well, the ogre is quick to decide, dashing ahead to bat his head to the ground. Diela is shocked to her core, seeing the thing that blew away Gister like a baseball has 0 effect on this thing. On the other hand, Unos is pretty much disappointed that this big lump is utterly useless. There, he smashes a gut-spilling punch to his guts that stickered him over the wall ahead, which makes the goblins and Diela drop their jaws real fast. A jump of a mile high in the air, only to stomp hard on the ogre that squashes him right to the ground. Apparently, this freak has caused a messy bloodbath all over the field. Back to the ladies, he tries telling them they are safe but curses at the language barrier. He is hoping to tell them how he doesn't look like an ugly buffoon in his real body. For gratitude, he goes to retrieve something that might come in handy for his survival. Picking out a potion and a sword, the lad is about to walk away until Diela forbids him to take that sword. He tries apologizing, but Diela begs him to give it back so she can fight the goblins. Unable to understand the pretty lady, he thinks it is best to get out of there quickly. But she continues to be the voice trying to tell the idiot to drop the sword, which is proof of their existence. Tears well up in her eyes as she mutters that monsters will remain monsters. There she vows to chase him to death until he clings to this sword. The lad can only see her pissy attitude boiling up, even when she got a nice pair of beasts of her own. Hence he walks out, leaving the humans to themselves. Starting out the bonfire, this knucklehead lives to regret taking the sword from that big nun's lady. Turns out that the lad made the wrong choice of taking a magical sword to help him survive, which seems useless now. A magical sword sucks magical power to use special abilities, as it's very experienced and hard to come by. Not to mention, this sword got the gist of power to even hurt his skin. Thanks to his beast powers, he can heal rather quickly. Regretting the choice, he only recalls the lady's big melons and nothing else. Though this ugly dude was looking forward to bonding with that woman after saving her life, it was already hopeless. Somewhere else in the forest, Diella keeps Lena safe in a nearby farmhouse and is about to venture alone into these lands. Lena asks her big sister if she is really going solo in search of the sword. Tears well in her eyes as she embraces her big sister one last time before she walks out. Diella is determined to protect Lena, the little girl, from all harm from the same fate as Gister. But Lena believes Diella is going to die just like Gister if she continues this journey solo to retrieve the sword. Dying on a quest to retrieve a sword, Diella promises to be not like others. However, she figures Lena and her are totally different if she can give up just like that. About to be stormed out, she vows to hunt down that monster alone and get their proof of existence back to them. On the other hand, the freak is really counting his blessings in disguise. Moreover, Yunus finds this body to not know how to feel drowsy or sleepy, as it's been a while since he caught any sleep or blinked. Aside from that, the lad feels hungry all of a sudden. However, he decides to catch a nap even if he no longer has the yearning for sleep. So basically, this guy labels this nightly routine as his night training. A monster as the sleeping beauty beside the bonfire is something new to see. Not to mention, the potions he got from the Big Melons lady are already at their limit. By the looks of his massive size, they are already not enough to last a day or two. He continues to climb up the mountain, hunting for a bigger backpack and salt to turn his tasteless meals a bit better. All in all, it won't hurt to admit that a hot pot might come in handy. Mumbling for hours, this creature looks to be needing a whole lot of things for his survival kit. There, he decides to look for a town as he meets the dawn. By then, he enters an abandoned town. Scanning the area, he bumps into an anti-aircraft gun that jolts his brain for real. This reminds him that these gorgeous babies belong to the Floretic Empire, fighting off the sky monsters in the war, one for the scientist team, although he remembers this turning into a total diplomatic problem later. Turns out that a bunch of monsters escaping out of an empire to others caused wreckage itself to build up a war zone. Moving along, Yunus has a hard time reading the blurred scripture off the wall. Piecing all the details, he heads to the northwest of this town, taking him to Loop Dills, which is right near the Cannon border. On the other hand, if he heads east, this will take him straight to the old Carnage Rock. After finally getting to know his own whereabouts, he believes he should hunt down some valuable intel around here. A sudden stinky stench blows on his face as he realizes that the goblins are close by. Thus, he decides to leave his backpack and gives those ugly things a nice visit. After stickering a few to the ground, he notices the goblins running in the same direction, which is even odd for these idiots. Cracking the code, he bets that there's something hiding there for sure. Not to mention, he spots the goblins behaving like some little puppets trying to protect something. Chasing the goblins like a cat on a mouse's tail, he enters the school. He figures the gymnasium as being a good enough spot to make a village. The nasty stench dials up as he gets closer and closer, only to find a giant blob, the Goblin Queen, in the midst of the swarm of goblins. A swarm of idiot goblins have shown the way right to the Goblin Queen. This big lump looks like the school's headmaster, ruling the little goblins in a gymnasium. Shocked to his core, this MC is mind-blown to spot a bug blob right in the midst of workaholic goblins. Aside from that, he knows how goblins get the use of other races to breed and level up their numbers. Surely their death rate is skyrocketing with a face like that, and their attitude is a whole other debate. Even so, the majority of these creepers do their breeding by the queen herself. By the looks of their numbers, Yunus evaluates that this queen births 34 goblins each day, which takes 20 more days to become a full adult. This is so unreal, looking straight out of a fairy tale, but only more disgusting. So basically, he figures to cut out the source, the queen, to hurt their growing numbers. With no other option at hand, he jumps in to paint the gym all red. An uproar starts rising in with an intruder at bay as the goblins unleash horrors on Yunus, who is pretty much annoyed. Latching on like glue stick, the goblins are throwing a hissy fit with whatever they have got only to protect their queen. This twitches Yunus's brain, asking the little ones if they are this desperate to protect their queen. Like a loose cannon, he breaks loose and tears the goblins apart in his sight, seeing them flying in the air. He shouts that for their size, it is darn useless for such small fries like them to stop him in his tracks. Ripping them to shreds, he creates a bloody pathway, leading him straight to the queen. Scanning the area, he looks to have done his job to an extent. All there is left to do is for him to deal with the goblin queen and a bunch of guards in his way. Aside from that, he refuses to get near that stinky stench even further. But his imagination is getting the best of him, showing him the big melon's lady like a popsicle for the goblins. But the duty calls for the super soldier to get rid of these pests before they raise even more havoc. Thus, he decides to defeat them without getting any closer or smelling that nasty stench. On the other hand, the goblins are darn clueless about what this ugly dude is about to do next. Picking up a solid rock, he thinks of the possible problems as nothing but his tedious aim. Cutting to the chase, Yunus believes this will be a quick thing. There looks to be no issue whatsoever with such a massive target before him that he cannot even miss. He throws that rock with such force that it practically turns her arm into juicy, minced meat. But this ugly dud was aiming for the head. Too bad for the physically enhanced macho dude. There he gives one more try to aim at the queen's wobbly belly, chucking his throw with such force that he practically gouged a hole into the belly. All of a sudden, the queen's donut-looking body cracks him up even more. While the queen is blowing ear-splitting howls, spraying blood over the ground like a stinky blob, he is laughing his pants off. Getting on this fun ride, he throws a few more, almost leaving nothing of the queen while the goblins stand in utter shock. Wiping the spilled blood off his ugly face, he imagines the big melon's lady praising him for saving her. After this cleaning duty, this creature just can't ignore the stench of the goblins over his body. He desperately wishes for a river nearby before he passes out. After taking a nice warm shower, this MC decides to continue his search for intel. The lad is sure to bump into something useful after a while. All of a sudden, he runs into the sweet old shopping mall. Storming inside the sports section, he picks out his huge hiking backpack. Moving along, he runs into a few good frying pans to cook better meals in the kitchenware section. Picking out his valuables, like an iron grill for some BBQ night in the forest. Running into the home appliances section, he thinks of picking up a cooler box just in case for preserving food. Hitting the grocery section, he runs into the expired salts, but he searches for any good canned foods or sodas. After getting a fully functional civilized check, this moron has picked out a modified backpack, an iron grill, a cooler box, and a useless magical sword. Moreover, a new water bottle, potion, frying pans, good canned food, and various other things to stuff his backpack. Suddenly, his brain jolts a memory out of this grocery dad that he forgot to look for intel about the Empire. However, the old sport did gather a few newspapers to get a good look at things here. After what felt like centuries, human-made stuff is like a breath of fresh air for this MC. Even the shopping malls are little drops of heaven. Tracking down the timeline 200 years ago, he figures that plenty has changed since then. With the help of magazines and newspapers, he learns that the Empire had a really tough time, as expected from the war. Knowing that the Western Front collapsed, he can't blame them, as the Einhell is super-duper strong. Other than that, he is rather curious about what has gone on just after May 25, 1667. He gets to know that they launched some sort of ultimate trump card to strengthen their odds. Moreover, he questions himself, asking if his home is really destroyed. Sulking in the corner, he makes up his mind to go in search of his homeland to have a little look. Even then, he thinks he should give the imperial capital a little visit. All this monster can do is muster up the courage and prepare his heart to see what has happened to the imperial capital. But for now, he decides to hit Luke Dill, near the cannon border. After that, he goes on to have a forced slumber in a warm bed. Somewhere else, a man is discussing Luke Dill, a promising den of the goblins, with a suited guy on the chair, probably mayor or something. Arngel asks Orlando to storm there with his best team, as it is already a big enough deal. Orlando is pretty excited and ready for action, as he has recruited some newbies in the team, ready for some test drives. So, a new quest works to get them a nice warm-up before tackling something serious. Although he is looking for a big reward after he deals with this. There he, Akatsuki no Senjo, swears to have taken over this mission personally with his team. After a nice nap, Yunus heads straight to Luke Dill, testing out his new imitation ability. Hiding over there, the lad is trying to fool goblins, who seem to be gossiping right next to him. It turns out that this body, who, by the way, is born to stand out, just as invisible to the idiots. Thanks to this, the big guy figures out something amazing in a whole other way. Just then, he smacks the tree right to the ground, putting a hissy fit at nowhere. With a quick apology, he mumbles about always forgetting that this body is high-spec, especially in his raging mode. Although the scientific prowess of the Empire is sort of scarier than anything else he has come across so far. Other than that, he is damn sure about one thing, that sleep is not in his daily routine. This macho body reeks of no fatigue, saving him days with no sleep at all. Turns out that he had a nice long slumber out of exhaustion the other night. Long story short, he vows to be careful enough to save his energy for the harsh times. Later on, he runs into a huge castle wall, as he believes this to be the border town of Lukdil. A moment later, a bunch of goblins stormed right out of the castle gate. It looks like this MC has had enough of these ugly things. With a little focus, he figures these dimwits to be running off from somewhere much scarier inside. Through his new imitation tactics, he decides to check this place out and see what lies beyond this border town. After butchering those goblins, he enters Lukdil. Out of the blue, he spots a well-known army corps with red cloth on the right arm, the cannon's army. Mapping out the details, he counts them. There are more or less 50 members against 300 goblins, all surrounded. To cut things short, he discovers that this looks really nasty for humans with 0 to no chance. This freak glances at Orlando, who is giving away nice instructions to boost his team's morale. Moving on, he notices Orlando's amazing sword skills, figuring that he is no lackey but the real deal in the midst. Although a bit amateurish, Yunos thinks he handles it pretty well. After a wail, he finds the cannon's army cleaning off this area in no time. Yunos decides to leave this area safely. Orlando asks Casetta to use detection magic to detect any more trash hiding out there. Just then, Yunos gets startled at feeling hurt and itchy for no reason whatsoever. Yunos is shocked to his core to see that the girl's magic can be seen through his imitation abilities. Mind blown to be caught by the likes of her, he tries sneaking out of this place. While Orlando is on a wild goose chase to hunt down this big guy, he is sure to outrun these dimwits. Out of the blue, a black firewall surrounds him as he comes to a halt. Orlando, with his usual smug face, points his flashy sword to Yunos. That just fuels Yunos' beastie rage. Flipping his lids, he wonders if this dumbass is trying to provoke him. Although the lad has no desire to battle with humans, Orlando's challenge doesn't go empty. It comes as a serious shock to Orland to see such a rare sight of this huge macho monster before. Even Annie thinks this is dialing up the crazy around her with such a terrifying monster before them. With a nervous chuckle, Orlando screams out Arngail's name, leaving out this huge detail with no additional reward for this one. Calling back his rookies, Orlando does a one-on-one with Yunos after his smart decision to bring all his rookies back. However, his sidekicks aim at the monster, but all attacks leave no marks. After he throws his lackeys in the air, Orlando is damn sure that this is no joke, but a real big deal. One thing is for sure, this beast is throwing them off their momentum and surely killing their spirits. Thus, Orlando decides to take this one for the team. Besides that, his smug face doesn't go away as he marks that this monster's ugly face boils him up even more. While Orlando jumps in for the one-on-one with this monster, Yunos is ready to give this guy a little something for starting this bullcrap fight over nothing. Flashing his sword to chop his head off, Yunos yanks Orlando with his heart as no blade is good enough to pierce it. No doubt, he notices Orlando's accelerating speed despite carrying a heavy weapon. But oh well, his chances are darn low due to his slow speed against the monster. The new guy's eyes are bulging out in horror as they watch their smug-faced captain taste defeat over an ugly monster. Jaw drops as rookies bear witness to their captain's slow-mo sword fight against the creepy thing. They all notice that the creeper deflects the captain's sword with his bare hands. Goodbye to smugness, and welcome to the troubling face. Orlando realizes that they are on the verge of losing the edge over her and losing morale all the way. Thus, he cannot help but believe that he is truly a fearsome monster. All of a sudden, Orlando spots Annie waiting to give her own try killing this beast at hand. Out of the blue, Yunos gets a severe nosebleed watching a blonde beauty heading this way. However, his pea-sized brain jolts into action, refusing to let the cutie pass through. However, he figures this beauty to be agile enough to dodge his attacks, proving to have a better speed than her captain. All of a sudden, she whips out her cute crossbow weapon to gouge his eyes out with the golden chance she has. It comes as a shock to Yunos, tripping him off his game for a moment there. Orlando and his crew are mind blown by Annie's hardcore steps for a close-range attack. Their eyes are as big as saucers, ready for the worst to unfold. Then, Annie shoots an arrow right into his mouth. The monster munches on it like a snack, Annie's jaw dropping right before the monster. Orlando was going bonkers to see such a close-range attack is nothing but meaningless against that creep. Just then, Yunos picks out Annie like a Barbie doll, ready for a dress-up game. Not to mention, he discovers that this chick has a well-trained, slick body and nice blonde hair. Besides that, a sense of utter bliss washed over his body as her melon's warm touch on his thumb brought him to heaven. Thinking hard if she is a size 4 or less, he decides to throw her a little far from here. Before he does anything, this chick pulls herself in his grip to break free by ripping her shirt to shreds. Her body is a slippery mess, showing off her beasts to throw him off the game. Orlando catches that trick and signals the squad to attack right away. Aside from that, Yunos' jaw is dangling to the floor, coming to the conclusion that she is a definite 5. Orlando instructs his dumb crew not to let this golden chance slip by in vain after how Annie risked her life for this. However, Yunos makes up his mind to let this one slide for the sake of such a good peek at her goodies. Orlando's squad hops to slash this MC into bits, but he yanks them out of the field. Even Orlando's attack continues to fail. Orlando and his squad keep swinging and missing. It's like a freak show, but not the funny kind. This monster is nothing but a big brick wall, freaking them out. Out of the blue, Annie goes on to give it another try with her magical sword. Turns out that slashes his guts right away. Annie and Orlando's eyes bulge out in horror, clenching their teeth unknowingly. Shocked to their core, Orlando believes that they are doomed if a direct hit from a magical sword slashes him. Sweat rolls down their faces as Orlando believes this is the end. So this guy is absolutely certain that they cannot defeat this monster at all. In spite of all that, this dude has the only thing that comes to mind right now. The only right choice he is about to make is to let as many rush back to the capital as possible. Scratching his head for a better idea to hold this monster right here, Orlando considers rolling himself as the sacrificial pawn. Though he wonders how much longer he can tie this monster here without causing chaos. All of a sudden, Yunos points at Orlando, jolting his brain. So basically, this dude has zero to no clue about what the deal is with this monster. Aside from that, he chooses Orlando as the sacrificial pawn to let everyone else escape. His mind is pretty much blown to have such an offer by a monster. He hasn't seen anything like it before. Just then, Orlando instructs the lackeys to stay back, letting them know the monster is looking for a one-on-one match with zero distraction. Somehow, Yunos quickly regrets making this choice to prolong this hideous battle. Aside from that, he is certain that if this further goes on, this will turn into a one-sided hunt in no time. Yunos messed up big time for sure. Blowing out his game here, he considers turning this into a side hunt for this bunch. A bead of sweat slides down his face. Thus, this MC decides to end this right then and there. There he points fingers at Orlando, picking up a solo fight to settle the score once and for all. Annie is totally mad, going bonkers to see Orlando signing up for his own slaughter routine. Yelling at him, she demands to know if he is going crazy to fight a monster that they could not be even together. Not to mention, she is having a few fuses blowing up, asking if he can win this one by himself. However, Orlando swears that he has what it takes to turn the tables around here. Also, he promises to buy this cutie a nice drink once they get home. Aside from that, he screams at this beauty to cover up her melons before his inner beast attacks her instead. This firecracker suddenly breaks into tears, apologizing for being so useless as he pats her. Looking at the view up front, Orlando is certain that he won't be able to scratch that monster on his own at all. Although the difference in their power numbers is huge enough, so basically as long as no one died, he does not give a damn. Thus, this clueless moron has no clue as to why Yunos chose him in the first place. However, he wonders if he lands on this monster's fitting criteria of being the chosen one. To top it all off, he looks to be impressed by this massive monster to have such intelligence. Smart freakshows like him are proven to be a pain in the bum in his track record. However, this odd fellow turns out to be the biggest pain whose smarts come in handy. Thus, he swears to shield his squad and lackeys and help them escape the death road. Even in hard times, he believes that the captain must abide by his supreme rule to protect his team as many as possible. Smiling perking on his lips like he is getting off a toothpaste commercial or something. He stands before Yunos, ready to put his life on the line, with his sorry bum keeping him waiting. There is that determined glint growing on his face. He is damn sure of having no intention of doing it for free. Definitely not on the house. At the back, Annie and his squad are clenching their hands, hoping for their captains to come back alive from this. And there goes Orlando against the massive super soldier going at it with each other. Clenching his teeth, Orlando was going bonkers to spot this heavy beast moving so damn fast. Yunus makes him look like his personal plaything, yanking him off the floor. Just then, Yunus grabs the captain off-air like a tiny dumpling as Annie and others scream his name like hyenas. But Orlando, ever the determined fellow, refuses to give up just yet. He yearns for just one big chance for a slash. About to whip out his other sword, he bets that this is how far he could have lasted. Their screams blur out of view as he is about to make his last steps worthwhile. Yunus, on the other hand, opens his stinky mouth to have a taste of victory, seconds away from crushing Orlando's head with his pointy teeth. Oh wait, this monster has trouble tasting buds. A huge picky eater as a super soldier. This surely comes in handy for those mad scientists to have a warmongering weapon threatening no humans. After spitting out Orlando, soaked in his saliva, the crowd is stunned to their core, ashamed to see their captain blown away by the monster like a spitball. For a second there, everyone is stunned, including Orlando, who has just proven to be utterly disgusting by the standards of a monster. Standing upright, he gives one check to his memory, thinking if he pulled something off. Though Orlando asks if this beast poisoned his head or something. Just then, in the name of curiosity, Annie demands to know when Orlando had showered the last time, especially his hair. A few moments later, the idiot blurts out that he had one 3 years ago from what he recalls. Remembering their captain had not showered in 3 years, the squad stares at this gross, sweaty head in shame. Although this shower-free zone did save his life, he looked like a total hero. Aside from that, Yunus is vomiting up real bad, muttering how that nasty freak did not shower his hair for a century or so. Even when Yunus had his plan ready to fake his pain and run away, he did not expect this dumbass to blow his fuse this high. Hence, he vows to beat the crap out of him next time. Even then, the lad got to see such a nice view of the blondie's beasts as he got lucky. Moving on, Yunus decides to go on with his exploring journey to search for answers. Later on, this NSC sniffs the smell of blood, which he perceives belongs to no one other than humans. Walking alongside the forest pathway, he continues to follow the trail of that stench, even knowing it's a little far this way as it continues to get sharper with each step ahead. Yunus cannot get enough of this convenient body, with a charming grin lighting up. Thus, he decides to check it out. Walking on the train built by the stench of human blood, he stumbles upon a bunch of humans who are ripped to shreds by a monster. Turns out that these poor fellas are robbed off in broad daylight. Passing his condolences, he discovers that this wound definitely reeks of a monster. Aside from that, he spots the trail of wheels, possibly a carriage, heading straight ahead in the forest. Mapping out the details, he assumes that these guys were certainly having bad luck and got robbed by bandits. Possibly, he believes that they might have stolen their stuff and carriage and headed towards the forest in a hurry. Scratching his head, he tries pitching himself an idea of stealing the things from the thieves themselves. With a loud evil chuckle, he continues to plan a heist in the wake of dealing with people who kill and steal things. Besides that, he bets that it will be a nice thing to steal from the stealers for a change. There, he heads straight towards the carriage's trail. After a short while, he runs into the very bandits that stole the carriage. He continues to have a battle against those pesky dimwits who have no clue who this monster is. Desperate measures aside, the big guy scares the crap out of the bandits like the boogeyman, making them run away real fast. Further on, their leader, who, by the way, is pretty screwed up himself, escapes in a hurry as well. Well, practically, Yunus feels a bit impressed by his macho skills to scare off tiny things just like that. This makes him wonder if the treasure inside is really even worth it. Well, the answers come to him real quickly when he lifts off the curtains of the carriage. A 1,000-volt shock jolts his cracked brain. He cannot figure out what he is seeing, as it takes him a moment to grasp the beauty of this scene before him. A few girls of all ages with ravishing bodies are curled up to each other in fear of what is about to happen. Long story short, Yunus pieces the details that these stripped ladies might be sold off to some wretched lord or something. Unexpectedly, he discovers the cargo to be fully loaded with gorgeous chicks. Even though he is totally loving this day, he still is in desperate need of appliances. At a light bulb moment, he bets that chasing the bandits looks to be a better chance of robbing their hideout instead, so he sticks to this idea. Just then, this hot beauty asks this overly grown monster if he saved their lives. But this freak only cares about storing this memory for centuries. Out and about, he tries smelling the stench of bandits' trail and continues to head forward. Moving alongside, he praises the Empire's technology, which has given him such awesome physical abilities. Aside from that, he notices that his 5 senses are so darn improved along the way. Not gonna lie, this monstrous freak looks to be powering up opponent after opponent. Although he is almost perfect to sign himself up for a circus freak show, that ought to do a fine trick. Tears well in his eyes, he curses the mad scientist for not letting him have his communication skills or gift him a sausage. Also, he states that his heart is still human, as he is not necessarily kept as a weapon. After spotting a backpack in the bush, he follows the stench right into the cave. There he decides to activate his imitation tactics to fool the idiots. Walking in, he wonders if this is even the real hideout, as there is no soul to keep a lookout. What shocks him even more is that this place is pretty neat inside, as the amazing interior does justice to this place. All of a sudden, he runs into the prison section out of nowhere, holding the humans inside who are already dead. He notices a small kid lying on his mommy's lap. Yunus feels sick to see how people can go this far. Thus he decides to show no mercy to those dumbasses. Just then, his sharp ears hear a scumbag apologizing to his boss. Eavesdropping out of sight, this creep bets that these dumbnuts are hearing a mouthful for running back here with no cargo. Although his subordinates are already dead, which makes the case worse for him. And there goes the boss screaming out at the bandit for leaving the cargo treasure behind over a freakish monster. He can totally understand this bunch, even if they are speaking fluent Kannon, as there is native fluency. He wonders if the boss is a foreigner, as he expects great loot from this nationwide criminal organization. Well, this bug-faced moron decides to pay them a little visit now. Even though the door is tiny, he pushes right through with force. What awaits him inside is about to blow his mind. Hence, he decides to break the door, keeping no slim chance of being trapped in there. So this guy pushes hard with enough force to make the wall crumble quickly. A surprise visit to this hideous thing, he demands to know what he is doing here. Scanning the area, Yunus maps out that this spider dude just killed his sidekick. But no, what shocks Yunus to the core is that this rotten bug thinks he gets away with those women. Moreover, this dude speaks the Furlitos language, unlike him. Another reason to curse the mad scientists now. While the Spidey dude asks Yunus to quit messing around in his place, this freak is definitely trying to figure this one out. But one thing is for sure, this hybrid is the same as him, an experimental soldier of the Empire. Back at the capital, Orlando reports to Arngel about the surprising events he has encountered in the midst of Luke Dill's Goblin's Den. Sweating beads, he tells the whole tale that went on and on about that rare monster meetup. But what concerns Arngel the most is his shower-free zone for the last 3 years. Hence, he questions this dude as to how long it has been since he bathed. Beating around the bush, Orlando continues to sway his attention at the events that have gone on with his squad. Although he recalls his teammates' horrible comments, telling him how his stench matches the goblins. Cutting to the point, he reports that the goblins are totally knocked out of the field with no problem. However, he is about to spill his guts to inform of bad news. Then he shares what he has been meaning to tell about a totally new type of monster running free in Luke Dill. Not only that, he mentions how his men cannot even lay a finger on him, taking all 7 of them out. Arngel looks stunned with horror-stricken eyes when he hears that Orlando's team got their butts kicked by a weird, rare monster. He further lays out the details, as this weird-looking monster is gray-colored, but in ogre-sized humanoid form. Moreover, he informs him that this guy has a tail too. Further on, he reports that neither magic nor weapons can go against this big fellow. Moving on, he says that this huge monster, despite his heady body, is sturdy, agile, and surely fast. Not to mention, he possesses a good IQ level for a monster. About the Titan Slayer Orlando recruited, Arngel asks if that guy was of any use. Hate to break it to him, but Orlando spills that he could not even land a hit on him all by himself, let alone the rookies. On matters of dealing with him, Arngel decides to hunt down a high-quality magic sword and a high-ranking wizard at the very least. With a nervous chuckle, Orlando mocks the Night Order for being utterly useless against this massive beast. Probably those poor souls will only get overwhelmed by his ugly face. Looks like the guy in the suit is having a serious case of migraine attack hearing this bullshit report. To top it all off, Arngel expects greater things regarding this new species from now on. With a pout and a side look, he seals the deal with Arngel. However, the guy in the suit wonders if the worst can even turn more bad. He juggles his thoughts, wondering if this is a mutation case or if this species just got cooked up now. Moreover, he bets if there are more, they can pop out of anywhere. While Orlando tells the old man to hush and not jinx things. He believes that if weird monsters like that start showing up, mankind will cease to exist. Back in the cave, Yunus is having a one-on-one face-off with this Spidey dude who turns out to be the same as him. The lad tries talking to this grim-faced spider, but he shuts down his growling nonsense real quick. There, he decides to talk it out through text, in ancient style with fingers on the ground. Suddenly, Yunus figures that his body is already chained by the spider web. It comes as a shock, wondering if he planned this all along. So this freak watches this other creature torture the bandits for not getting a fine girl over here. Turns out that this grim-faced Spidey is trying to grow his sausage when stripping off the ladies. His whimpering cry howls in the cave as he asks where his thing has gone. Yunus feels the brother's pain, wondering if they can exorcise it or something. After hearing this nutcase has been doing unforgivable things to the woman and kids, Yunus breaks out of the web. Flipping his lid, his rage makes him jump straight at the Spidey dude and give him a smashing punch. Even after understanding his struggle, Yunus refuses to leave this rotten bug alive. That bonehead has no clue about Yunus being a super soldier. So basically our dude takes advantage, keeping a safe distance. Finally, getting rid of the web, as this is enough to blow the bonehead's fuse. While our freaky dude launches himself to grab this monster, the Spidey sheds his skin right away to get out of his grip. Besides that, his skin's mucus works like acid burning up Yunus' hands. Without wasting another breath, the Spidey vomits out a poison spray at Yunus. There, the MC watches Spidey make an exit, leaving him to rot in poison. Aside from that, his body feels numb. Just then, he recalls the Big Melon's lady's potion that might come of service in this situation. After putting it all on, he prays hard, so they work on this spineless poison. He suddenly feels the pain and numbness slowly fading away. In no time, the big guy is as good as new. Even his hand, which was heavily burned by the acid, looks like a new pair. Thus, he declares that the potions are amazing, as much as his Big Melon's lady, who is a true lifesaver at this point. Storming out of the cave at the first chance he got, he sprinted in panic mode. To point it out, he admits the fact that it is his first time tripping into a life-threatening situation after 200 years. Not to mention, his first time to feel real pain after 2 centuries. Horrors become real rather quickly when he thinks of that guy who might start using those powers against humans. That Spidey bonehead is nothing but a loose cannon or ticking time bomb. He worries that there will be more victims, like women and kids. Though he has zero to no interest in living life like a hero. But he refuses to look away from these horrors that might turn real anytime soon. With pain and numbness completely off his system, he recalls Spidey's scent. Turns out that dude is already on his way to retrieve his stolen cargo, fully loaded with pretty ladies. Waiting for his target to give away a golden chance, the bonehead is cooking up a plan to hook this chick with a child. Just then, Yunus makes an overdramatic entrance, freaking the heck out of Spidey. The grim-faced freak is rather stunned out cold to see that monster alive and well. With those women heading out of sight, Spidey curses this big guy for being a real nuisance. After having good enough experience with hunting goblins, this freak is sure of his nice precision skills, good enough to let those women safely escape, declaring the endurance test until Spidey proves to be the most impatient rotten bug who jumps in for the first attack. But Yunus has practically cooked up a nice plan to take the same steps back as the Spidey tries closing distance in between them. Overly annoyed by the MC's attempts to run away from a fight, he commands the coward to face him off. Even Spidey gets his business to escape while avoiding the poison and web attack. However, he wishes this monster just dropped dead. Yunus figures it all out in a go, using trees as a web shield and searching for his golden chance to throw stones. Repeating the simple steps in a loop to drive Spidey nuts has proven to be working, while Spidey urges the other dude to fight fair and square once and for all. However, for Yunus, this is just a grand hunt to squash the spider off the earth. Days have passed and Spidey whines, as he feels like this battle has been going on for over a month or so. Besides that, he feels like a fool dealing with a monster out of all people in a stranded area. Moreover, he feels like his head is spinning real crazy, like some hangover. Turns out that this dude is completely running out of energy after going over days with no food and sleep. Further on, he is darn sure of running short of poison and web altogether. After giving it a try, it hurts him inside like a wrong case of food poisoning. A sudden memory dwells in his mind where he is forced to sign up to be this hideous thing. This fuels his rage enough to launch himself at Yunus. Right there, the big guy sees the golden opportunity and showers the stones straight away at the other monster. Collapsing to the ground, the bonehead whimpers like a 3-year-old, whining about how it hurts him. There, big guy hops in for the final task and rips Spidey's body off his legs. After a final scream echoing into the halls of hell, he slams his bonehead into the tree. There he tries texting in an ancient style, scribbling with his finger on the tree. After scratching for a few minutes, Spidey takes a look from his bulging eyes. The lad is shocked to his core upon reading Furlito's language. Just then, his eyes go as big as saucers, and the look of horror turns into a shock. Thus, Spidey learns that this big guy is just like him, the experimental super soldier. Before Yunos is about to crush his skill, the lad tries to convince him that they are comrades. A second later, Yunos crushes his skull into bits, spilling his blood like a leaky faucet all over the ground. So this dude tells Spidey not to lump him together with the likes of him. Out of the cave, Yunos pays his friendly greetings like the friendly neighborhood mutilated super soldier after finishing off the not-so-friendly Spider-Man. So he introduces himself as the one who breaks free from the heavy slumber after 200 years. Long story short, those mad scientists transformed him into a macho monster with a jacked-up body. Turns out that this freak has managed to get into Einhell, the Elven country. On the note of canon reconnaissance, he believes that to be a thing that he left behind. After crushing that bonehead into bits, he mentions roaming to the frontline city between Canon and Einhell. However, this MC runs to the conclusion that those guys left the science to rot and abandoned that ship long ago. Climbing up the mountain peak, he looks over at Einhell with his enhanced zooming eyes. Moving on, he finds Einhell to be where the elves are more drawn to worship nature. But these guys tend to do very little in the development case. For this reason, the monsters around here boom real soon to raise havoc. Even then, the elves of Einhell pack some real guts to fight off those monsters. Yunos sees them as the strongest, like a big enough problem for humans. To top it all off, he recalls the frontline city with Einhell reeking of highest grade weapons from that country. Other than that, he spots a ballista standing upright on the borders from Canon, which looks to be 200 years old. As if these scums know nothing about maintenance or upgrading their level. Geez, this just makes him want to puke at their sight. Looks like this monster is far disappointed in Canon's game. No doubt, Yunos no longer feels the need to expect from the scums of Canon. Overall, he realized that the town looked like a true eyesore, considering its age even after 200 years. No such growth gives him the ick. Next, this MC was sold to check out Einhell as it was his time. Sprinting to the reconnaissance spot, this creature crash-landed in this country 16 days ago and hasn't thought of leaving at all. Moreover, Yunos looks to have scanned the elf head to toe, learning lots about these dimwits. One thing is for sure, Big Guy discovers the elven beauty of being utterly blissful, like little drops of heaven. He can't help but admit that these chicks are crazy hot. After figuring out their expertise in magic, they used it without any incantations whatsoever, like true sorcerers. To top it off, their power gain is solid more than the petty humans. Moreover, they have the edge of using it endlessly, which is harshly cheating. He dives down from the mountain to take a close look at Einhell. Other than that, he somehow got to see elves using magic for everyday use. From lighting a fire to dyeing up the clothes, Yunos find this carefree zone the very reason for their mastery over magic. But what sets them apart is not their magic but the greatest threat, which is the fact that the girls around here reeks of true beauty. This is enough to kill anyone, nulling even the weapons like him. Sneaking through the bushes to take a sneak peek, Yunos checks out the elven beauties. The lad heard the well-known rumors of their renowned beauty, but he somehow finds them truly on the next level or even beyond. Not to mention, there is also a bunch of men running around. Sounds like this big guy's whole journey is to check out ladies around here, which is one thing Einhell is truly famous for. Yunos has come to this conclusion after visiting the reconnaissance spot to see 111 women. Turns out that this nutcase has been keeping an eye on the ladies to get the biological concept of this dangerous species. Moving on, Yunos has finally come to terms with himself to head to the next spot. There he goes, hopping like a pervy bunny, marching right to the second reconnaissance spot as he calls this one 2.0. Turns out that this freak has been patrolling this river area for quite a while now. Sounds like 16 days have served this agenda very well. But Yunos, the freaky super soldier, tries his best to learn to dig out what is the greatest threat of all in Einhell. Arriving at the next stop, he stares at Miss No, 6 playing around with little kids. This crazy hot chick, No, 6, particularly looking like a Victoria's Secret model, fits his criteria of taste. Turns out that this bombshell is one of the walking threats. Not knowing what's up with bringing kids, a teacher of some sort or similar, Yunos has zero clue about that. Just then, this freak show lets his eyes get a pretty nice view at those gorgeous curves of No 6. a nickname given to her by him. Turns out that these enhanced zooming eyes kick it up a notch to zoom into the details of melons. Talk about the true power of Yunos's pervy sage mode. And this moron's favorite show just begins. Flying off no. 6 clothes and getting the boys to get away with this, Yunos figures this chick to be more of a softie, letting them play with her massive beats and falling for their cheap tricks and pranks. No. 6 poses as the gentle type, which makes her one of the greatest threats on Einhel's premises. Turns out that the young boys get away with things like that pretty easily with her. However, this MC looks to be outraged at those dimwits' trashy stunts. But he cannot help but admire the little creepers to be this lucky at a young age to spar with such a hot beauty. While he watches No. 6 throwing a hissy fit at these dumbasses for pulling off cheat tricks, he vouches for the young pricks to do even more. While Miss No. 6 takes off with all the kids after a nice steamy bath, Yunos sighs loudly to have a blast watching this bunch. Even though he knows No. 6 was amazing as always, most importantly, he salutes that brat for performing such a darn good job as well. Shaken to the core, this catches him off guard. All of a sudden, he spots a rock-solid woman coming out in a hurry. Out of the blue, it turns out that No. 8 has arrived on the scene a tad bit earlier than usual, which creeps Yunos out. His voice stammers while he gasps for breath to spot such a beauty again. Although he hasn't recovered from No. 6 chaotic scenes, and is now No. 8 at his display. Sweating like a leaky faucet in her present, he wonders if these chicks are letting him get some rest or take turns. He declares this piece of 11 meat as the most terrifying threat of all time. That could even make anyone piss their pants before such a dominating figure. As she takes a heavenly breath, Yunos mutters that this smocking hot elf is another one he has locked his eyes on. The lad is especially interested in this project of kill them with hotness. Not to mention, Yunos drools at the sight of her big melons. Moving on, this sexy art piece always has 2 attendants by her side at all costs. This all points out one thing. Yunos thinks it's a long shot, but this woman has got to be some hi-fi thing in 11 country, though he expects her to be of significantly high status here. Moreover, he bets that there is some solid reason that never lets her open her eyes. Furthermore, he has picked a little detail about this lady's bath routine, which looks not so earthly. He is damn sure that No. 8 does more of a ritualistic bath compared to others. Hence, he confirms that she is no ordinary elven woman. Born with a certain mysterious aura, he spots her as the one standing out of the ordinary. His eyes are popping out of his sockets as he desperately tries not to blink at all and save her moves in his mind. The bugface begs not to miss any detail of her action and ritual dance with her eyes as wide as saucers. He spills his guts that he just cannot overlook any of No. 8's actions. He means this is a terrifying elf with a destructive impact, the greatest threat of all. The poor thing tries shaking his fist up and down, but in vain. Cursing the scientist, Yunos is pretty pissed about seeing such a feast before his eyes, and he still can't shoot a thing out. Thus, he recalls the late Spidey's saddening desires. He remembers him muttering that no matter what he did, his wood never had gotten harder or got to a point of rising. His cries circle around his head, crying out for his sausage, leaving him like 200 years ago. Rushing off that thought, Yunos bets that the Spidey prick woke up a lot sooner than he did. Not to mention, he spotted that crappy grim head of being much adept at his unique abilities while knowing how to talk. Feeling a bit off about that dude, he wonders if he turned out mad right after feeling the depth of emptiness and loneliness. However, Yunos feels a whole lot sorry for the passing guy and some sympathy for this departed soul for having such a cruel fate. Wishing No. 8 a safe ride home, he hopes not to have the same fate as Spidey. In times like these, the bugface is blessed with no wood but an emotional button to turn off all kinds of emotions. It comes in a lot of handy in this way, before he sinks deeper into nothingness. While the nights are darker, Yunos has figured out that no elves come near the river after the sunset. Thus, he plans on hunting the supplies at this time and doing his dishes for the night. While the food hangs off the tree, he washes his cooking tools and then quickly cooks a nice, yummy meal with all the seasoning he collected before. Later on, he tries taking a sweet nape at the cave site. He comes to the conclusion that he might run into others like him if he returns to the Empire. Out of all, he has always known that he must pack up and get to the Imperial capital. Though his mind might be filled with mixed thoughts, along the vastness of the forest, hunting down the inhabited beasts, he recalls the date stopped on May 2nd, which means the Empire has already met its end, although he always hoped in his heart to have some Empire left and continue. This only makes Yuna's wonder if he will end up like that jerk Spider-Man. Thus, he now knows that turning away from harsh reality is sickening itself. So this dude vows to go back to the imperial capital. After getting all the supplies and bidding farewell to No 6 and No 8, he ventures off ahead for a new journey. This pervy sage tries slamming some sense into his naughty heart to give up the Einhell and quit deceiving himself now. He better leave now or be sorry later. So, a strange-looking man is forcing this tiny girl, Diera, to strip naked before him right there. Dangling a carrot before Diera, this creepy pervert orders this girl to take off her clothes real quick. He reminds this brat that if she desires to be a great wizard, she will do as he says. All she can do is scream in her head with her ear-piercing cries to make this stop. After feeling utterly grossed out by this creeper, she always felt like running home in the arms of her parents. Clenching onto the pillow hard, she bawls her eyes out, hoping she turns adult real fast and ends this horror soon. And this way only, she can truly return to her hometown. All of a sudden, Dara wakes with all the horrors of the past coming like a horrific nightmare. Sweating like a leaky faucet, her eyes are bulging out of her sockets as if seeing real horror. She declares this to be the worst. At the Kingdom of Cannon, Rekkel, some dude shouts that it's cheap. Dara, out on her walk, hears if they are talking about some monsters or anything. About those charming ladies that bandits captured were actually the citizens of Cannon who safely made it home soon enough. Dara got a chance to get in touch with one, and she mutters that the guard has taken all the intel regarding that case. All of a sudden, Dara hands her a coin and suddenly, this chick's demeanor turns upside down. She dares ask what Dara is actually looking for. Thus, she demands this chick blurt out every single factor that plays out in her story back home. However, she spills that the details might not be worth a dime, but she will slip it out anyway. A while back, she recalls the bandits taking a pass before running off to their hideout, although they were all pretty scared until a terrifying monster appeared out of nowhere. Hence, she recalls that the field was in total chaos as bandits were no darn match against that beast. While the kidnappers take off with an escape route after locking eyes with such horrific monsters, Dara asks the reason that the beasts attack the carriage. Though this chick knows nothing about that part, other than that, she noticed that the monster was in search of something inside the carriage. Even after checking them out, he left with so much as nothing. Suddenly, she remembers seeing him checking them out again, but this time the beast took good enough time to scan them, but then stroll out of sight in no time. On the other hand, this chick bets that his gaze was right on the goodies as per the woman's intuition. She bet maybe this is the monster's way of looking at the woman. In the end, she mentions that they were easily let go after that. On notice, this woman bets Dara's beauty is mind-boggling and can be such a great asset. Thus, she throws a golden chance to Dara. She blurts out that if she is ever short on money, she better check her place out in her free time. She is damn sure that Dara can make a fortune easily. With a nervous chuckle, Dara lays her off by saying if push comes to shove. After heading out of that bar, she again loses herself in the crowd with her endless thoughts. She is certain that the same thing has found itself in the Kingdom of Cannon out of all places. Not to mention it looks like that thing is getting real close pretty soon. She runs side with a happy-go-lucky group fighting about throwing off all the money today. Suddenly, her mind sent off that creepy man's voice calling out to Dara. He believes that she possesses a great talent. So the story goes like this. Dara, an 8-year-old, was dragged out as an excuse for being a little apprentice for a man who had a thing for little girls. Moreover, she has known for a long time that she possesses a great talent for magic. However, that turned out to be a big fat lie to get her out of her house and in his lap just because he liked her. Despite getting through the gross, horrible ways of taking out her virginity, she still never lost hope of making it out of there as a hard-working adult. This all only to get back to her hometown once more. But that plan went down the hill when Dara's hometown was ravaged by a couple of monsters. In the past, she was sure to be a little insane at that time. Later on, she went through a promising future of becoming an adventurer, hunting down hundreds of monsters. Not to mention, near-death experiences were an everyday thing. At times, this girl faced the harsh trauma of inmates doing nasty things to her and deceiving her, but nothing mattered anymore. The only thing that ignited inside was a determination to eliminate all the hideous monsters of this world. After a while, her path ran across two siblings, Rena and Lizzle, who fondly took her in as their own. Forming a true team that she cherished, Jista came along to join as well as a friend of Lizzle. Surviving the deathly battles among these cherished friends, she finally relied on someone. Long ago, she remembers their great win when Lizzle handed over the mighty sword to Dara, but she hopes Lizzle becomes a man worthy of it. And that's how the team became her only true home. But monsters always take away what is precious to her, hence she promised Rena to come back alive with their precious sword. Taking a stroll in the ruins, the Bugface can pretty much figure out where the battle has taken place. It turns out that this monster left Einhell at the back and headed straight to the southeast. With great speed, he ventures towards the great lands of the imperial capital. It seems like the sunset has already touched these ruins. Moreover, he is certain that he is standing somewhere called Idris, perhaps. Though he bets it's a little hard when the place looks like a giant mythical beast played hockey here. He wonders if this mess is all thanks to the elf's mighty teams. On the other hand, he knows he is taking a sneak peek at the elven smoking hot bodies, which makes him guess that this is just a quid pro quo, like an imperial-style joke. Suddenly, he can hear the sounds of a bunch of crickets having some sort of rape party at night. Besides that, no sense of exhaustion makes this Bugface even a tad bit slow. He continues running straight towards his destination point. And by this time, he is damn sure to have spotted the Iron Tower of Shubaru at last. This dude cannot believe that this thing, even a little tilted, is still standing and living up to his name. No doubt, he believes that the Empire's techno stuff is turning out to be really impressive. Well, by taking a good look at this centuries-old masterpiece, he thinks there's always something precious about these places. Once you visit them, it all stores down in memory lane, like the memories of family. All of a sudden, his eyes pay attention to the horde of goblins bouncing off to get Senpai's attention. He tells the lads that it's darn easy to know if they are here or not, so no need to make a surprising dramatic entrance. More importantly, their crazy stinky stench has always alarmed Yunos about the disgusting trash right before him. Although he wonders if this crazy storm of goblins can only mean there could be a queen nearby after all. Turns out that this is real nice timing for these dimwits to pop out before him. He sure has a lot of steam to blow off anyway. Like a perfect timing, perfect spot, he flows terror in the eyes of goblins that the night will go long. Just when the sun hits the horizon, the light brightens up the field of gobbling bloodshed, or, let's just say, Yuno's art piece. Moving on at great speed, he didn't believe the time had gone by this fast. Not to mention, he took a shit in of time to wipe the field clean. Heading straight to the southeast, he only hopes to see the town of Aga soon enough if he keeps up the pace. Suddenly, his eyes pop out in shock to spot something ahead of him. The lad didn't expect to be the town of trash, as this place will get the first place in terms of ruins. On the other hand, Yunos feels a little off about this place. An unsettling feeling resides in his consciousness. He is certain that something here is not feeling like Aga at all. Realization hits him hard, as he believes it's the color that's different. It comes to pass that this Bugface recalls every town has been overrun with green except this one. So what's the reason for Aga turning out to be gray like ash? Apparently, this tin face has been right all along, as his gut feeling spotted this long ago. This palace is a total burndown and went through hell or something. Even if elves are behind this, he wonders what went on here to lead such brutality. On the other hand, the details are in his mind, and he bets if this is the exact damage of the ultimate weapon turning Aga into gray like ash. So basically, this lad concludes that the Imperial Academy really made use of that ultimate weapon after all. Coming to the point, Yunos has been on this journey since he departed from the lands of Einhell. Not to mention, he met a dozen goblins and the art piece he left behind. He knows that a break is something his body deserves. Shaking this feeling off, Yunos only has one thing running through his mind for now, and that is, he better get to the capital as soon as possible. He regrets not taking action when he first noticed this little detail. Not only that, he took a hell lot of time to just convince himself to not look away from the harsh reality and face it. It comes to pass that this reality has been sitting before him all along. Taking a good look at that huge hole with a dark center, he gets closer to see it with his own eyes. Yunos has never set foot on the beach but only wonders if this is how it actually feels. Moving on the site, he bets a dozen explosives must have been taken to create such a big mess. This leads him to conclude why canon has abandoned science out of all. With this wrecking outcome of the tech stuff, no wonder they put a stop to it. He still cannot admit that this is his beloved homeland, but only wishes to know what disaster led to its demise. It makes him ponder if the Empire's path was nothing but a terrible mistake after all.